In this video, I'm going to share with you a 4-step process to get the absolute most out of AI when you're using it to teach, learn, or be more productive. You know, AI is not a search engine. It can be used as a search engine, but that's not the true power of AI. AI is not a machine that goes and gets an answer for you. It can get answers for you, but once again, that's not the true power of AI. And you can even use AI to create things such as papers or documents or images. And it does a great job with some of that, but once again, that's not the true power of AI. So what is the true power of AI? Artificial intelligence is a tool that you can use to become a better version of yourself. Your ideas, your creativity, and your perspectives are unique and cannot be replaced. Even though people say that AI can replace a lot of the things that people do, and there is some truth in that, it can't replace those core elements of what makes you, you. What AI can do, though, is go through vast amounts of information and present that information to you in a way that you can bring your authentic self to in order to analyze and develop new perspectives, new ideas, and new creative thoughts. And you know, in a way, this is nothing new. Have you ever read a book that gave you a new perspective on the world? Or seen artwork that made you think about your own creative expressions? Or maybe you had some papers or things that you saw, experienced, and that gave you some new ideas? This is not uncommon. That's kind of how humans work. We get a lot of input, and then we use that input in order to see the world in new, exciting, creative, and interesting ways. Well, what AI can do is AI can actually elevate our ability to do that by giving us consolidated, synthesized information that we can then use in order to do things that are meaningful to us. Now, with the 4 steps that I'm going to show you in this video, you'll see exactly how to use AI in that way. And I'm not just going to talk about the 4 steps, I'm going to demonstrate them as we go along so that you can see the type of results you'll get if you follow these 4 steps. The first step is purpose. It's very important to enter into a conversation with AI by stating an intention or a purpose to the conversation. And this might seem very obvious, but many people go into the AI environment just to find an answer to the questions that they might have. And you know, a lot of things in this world are not about finding answers. It's really more about asking questions in order to develop a deeper understanding and in order to expand your perspective on the topics you're interested in. And AI can be an absolutely fantastic resource if you tell it what your intentions are before you begin the process of trying to extract information from it. Let's take a look at how we can preload our AI conversation by stating our intentions and having a purpose behind what it is that we would like to learn. So here I am in ChatGPT. It could be any of the AI tools that you like to use. And what I want to do is, let's say I'm interested in learning about other cultures around the world by reading novels from those other cultures. I want to read a novel a month for the next 12 months, each of them being from a different culture, and I want to be able to use that as a way of becoming, sort of having different perspectives and having creative ideas and all of those things. So what I've done is I've created the prompt, so I'll just paste it in, and then we'll talk a little bit about what the prompt is. So let's just paste that in there. So the first thing that I did in the prompt here was I put in some hashtags. I like to do this with the prompt that I'm building so that the AI understands some of the things that I want to extract from it. So in this case, it knows that I'm interested in reading, it knows that I'm interested in books, it knows it's novels and world culture. So I just put those hashtags in between the pound symbols in there just to give the AI a little bit of help as to setting my perspective or my purpose here. So and in terms of my prompt itself, I say I'm interested in expanding my understanding of other world cultures by reading 12 novels from different countries over the next 12 months. These books should be interesting to me and not over 300 pages long so that I can read them in 1 month. They should be books that are regarded as reflective of the cultures in which they were written. And I want a variety of novels with a focus on books written in the past 30 years. I want to look more modern cultural events. But some classics could be included if they're particularly significant. And now I want to expand upon this. The next step in setting things up for success is to state position and place. When we state our position, where we're at with the information that we wish to explore, what we know, what we don't know, the things that we're hoping to get out of the conversation, we're really helping the AI determine what level to speak to us at, what information to pull in, and we can even use tools in most AI environments that will allow us to upload resource documents or reference material to really help the AI tailor the position and the place to where we are. This is an important step that a lot of people forget because they're searching for what's out there. Sometimes you have to provide information for what you already have, who you already are. And if you have this information available, you can ensure that the AI gets to know who you are and tailors its answers to your creativity, to your ideas, and to your perspectives. Let's take a look at some ways that we can really set a solid position with the AI before we start generating results. Now, when it comes to position, I really want to put information about who I am and what I'm trying to get out of this conversation. So in this case here, I've put in a prompt where I'm saying that I'm an avid reader. I'm telling it how many books that I can read, 2 to 4 books a month, the type of books, 2 nonfiction, 2 fiction. I'm talking about the last novels that I read, Sailor Who Fell from Grace by the Sea, with the Sea, A Life, a User's Manual, The Memory Police, and Exit Zero stories. I talk about some of my favorite genres, in this case science fiction, some of my favorite authors, Tolkien, Lem, Paul Bowles, a little bit of variety here. And I could really go more in depth here. I could upload a document of all the books that I've read from Goodreads. I could go in, and if I keep track of my books in my personal library, I could put those books in there, even separating the ones I've read from the ones I haven't read. Maybe ChatGPT would give me advice and saying, hey, you've already got 6 of the 12 novels that you should read this year. I could also, if this wasn't a personal project, if this was business, I could put in my strategic plan. So if I was trying to figure out how to proceed or get more ideas on how to achieve some business objectives, I could put those in here. So in this case here, there's a lot more I could do in terms of forming the position, but I'm just doing this as a demo here, so I'll use this for now. But I would highly recommend that if you're doing any type of deeper research or if you're trying to get even more, if you can provide the AI with some documents, some PDFs or some text documents that explain where you're at, you're really going to give it the opportunity to position itself to respond to exactly what you need. The next step is persona. We want to give the AI a persona to let it know who it is. Now we can have fun and tell it that it's Leonardo da Vinci or Albert Einstein. But what I mean by persona is we want to set the boundaries or the elements of the AI conversation that shape the way the AI produces information for us. What I mean by this is if I'm looking for help with writing a document, then I might want the AI to be a writing coach, or I might want the AI to be an editor. If I'm looking to have some help with a scientific concept, maybe I want the AI to assume the role of an astrophysicist or someone who's a biologist. I can set the persona of the AI to whatever parameters meet the needs of my conversation. It's setting some boundaries, it's setting some guardrails if you would, but it's really narrowing the way that the AI is going to respond, and it's going to tailor it to the type of results that I'm hoping to get so that I can expand upon them and add my own personality into them. This is a very important step. Well, they're all very important steps, but this one here is really telling the AI who it is. You know, maybe this should be called How to Win Friends and Influence AI. I don't know. But the idea of creating a persona is to have a way for the AI to respond that's meaningful for the type of conversation that we would like to have. Let's take a look at setting a persona for our AI. So now that I've taken the time to tell the AI who I am, provide it with documents, give it a lot of material to work with, now what I'd like to do is give a personality to the AI. And here what I can do, and you can have fun with this, you certainly could, by having it talk like a pirate if you want. But I do tend to be a little more serious myself with this. And I really want to set the perspective. I want to say that in this case, this AI is the persona of a knowledgeable bookstore owner. They specialize in international books. They live in a specific region, Victoria, BC in Canada. They've been selling books for over 20 years. They have a very diverse international clientele. That clientele are well-traveled. Lots of them have higher education, including some professors at a local university in philosophy, literature, and global culture. And the AI is friendly. They always looks for ways to understand your customers by asking them questions, and they take great joy in matching books to readers. And I could go on and talk about tonality. I could talk about how maybe there are boundaries that I want to put in place here. You don't recommend books that have, say, a lot of violence in them or themes that I might not want to read for whatever reason. You can set the boundaries here if you like, or you can leave it unbounded to see what the results are. But the idea behind giving a personality to the AI is that it's going to interact with me in a much more authentic way. And really the ultimate thing is it's going to pull my own ideas out of this conversation. So now I've put that in there. We have one final step before we can actually start talking to the AI. Now, as you've seen, we've done a number of steps before we even begin our conversation with the AI. And the last step before we start interacting with the AI is to set partnership. We want to ask the AI to not just provide a bunch of information for us, not just to dump a bunch of information on us. We want the AI to work with us, maybe asking us one question at a time, using our response to those questions to steer the conversation into areas to allow us as creative, intelligent people to elicit our own ideas as we're getting this synthesized amount of data from the AI. And again, I can't stress enough that when we're working with AI, it's not creative. It has no ideas. It has no perspectives. It seems like magic because it's synthesizing such a large amount of information, but it's really not doing any of the things that we would attribute to human characteristics. And I think that's an important thing to remember. When AI reads a book or absorbs the information from a book, it doesn't enjoy it. It doesn't understand that that book is well written or poorly written. It simply sees that book as a number of words on pages with predictable patterns that it can create a statistical analysis of, so that if you say something like "the dog barked," it makes sense. If you say something like "the cat barked," it doesn't make sense to AI. So let's talk about how we can get the AI to work in partnership with us instead of just dumping a bunch of information, data, and synthesized ideas in front of us. Now, with this final step, I could be much more extensive than I am going to be here. I'm just going to ask it to give me one question at a time. I'm going to ask it to pretend I just walked into the bookstore. It's going to ask me one question, recommend one book at a time, and then at the end it's going to give me a list of all 12 books. Now, these 4 steps that I've shared here today are really a framework that can definitely be expanded upon depending on the type of work that you'd like to do. But let's go ahead and put this into the AI and see what happens. Notice that you can see immediately it's welcome in, and it's going to talk about the 12 novels. It's going to ask a few things to refine our selections. It's going to ask about the regions of interest, the tone and style, whether I want science fiction versus a realist balance. So it's asking me some specific questions here. In that last step, I could have said, really limit the amount of questions you ask at any given time. So it could just be a one at a time question in here. But I'm going to respond to its questions, and then we'll have an opportunity to see what it comes up with as books. So I've answered the questions. I said I'd like to try to read one book from every continent, maybe not Antarctica. I'd like a blend in tone and style between challenging and more lyrical books, with maybe the more challenging books being in the winter months, more lyrical books in the summer months. And then I want to look mostly for cultural realism here. So you can see that I'm engaging in a conversation with the AI, as opposed to just getting, here are the 100 best books, or here are the 9 books you must read. So you can see it's starting to go through and show me some of the books here. Now in this case here, it gave me my first book, The White, that's actually a great book. So I'm good on you, AI. You've found a really good book there. So, and just as a side, I'm a big fan of Booker Prize winners. So I do try to read as many of the Booker Prize winners as possible. So here about 290 pages where it's set. So you can see that I've got some recommendations of not just what book to read, but where to read or when to read this book, because I put that in there. And now you can see that it's asking another question. Does it want me to alternate continents month by month? So I'm hopping from Asia to Africa to South America, or do I want to cluster everything together? And I will just say, let's hop on pop. We'll just say hop around. Right? Now I could be more thoughtful in my response, but the idea is that it asks me if I'd like to hop around. So now we're going to go to the journey here. So I've never heard of this book before, so I'm very interested in this. And you can see I'm not going to go through my entire book list here, but at the end it'll give me a list of all of the books here, and it's asking me questions. You can see here, this is not AI doing work for me. It's not simply doing search for me, and it's not simply giving me answers. It's actually going through and taking a highly contextualized answer or generation of ideas that I get to interact. I get to bring myself to the process. And I think that's a better way to use AI, and I think that's a way that we can get more out of AI. Okay, I didn't show you every conversation that I had here, but I won't leave you hanging. I went through, had a conversation. It asked me if I wanted to go from different continents. It asked me where I wanted to go, what type of tone I wanted. And then it did give me my 12-month, 12-continent journey through literature. Fantastic selection of books. Really happy to see a Canadian book in there. I'm from Canada. And this was really a pleasant surprise as well. It asks if I wanted to have a pairing selection or suggestion for each book, like a complementary nonfiction work or a film or cultural resource to deepen the experience month by month. So that's a pretty knowledgeable bookstore owner. So the persona is starting to extend itself a little bit here. And yeah, I could see the nonfiction pairing, but I don't know whether the bookstore owner is also a cinephile, or, is going to be able to recommend films and cultural resources. But, it's still taking that tonality, and I think that's a good thing. These 4 steps are just some of the things I use with every conversation that I have with AI. There's actually even more ways to get really good results from AI. And if you're interested in discussing these ideas, comment down below, or I have a free Skool community, and I'll put a link down below so you can join like-minded people that enjoy talking about how we can use technology to learn, teach, and be more productive. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.